For question number 1, you have to write the equation of the graph, which should have been y equals 2x minus 1, simplified. So the 3 points there were, did you get it in the right format? Did you get the right slope and simplified and the right y-intercept? Questions on that? If you have your laptop open, go ahead and close that. Thank you. Okay. For the second one, yes, you could have counted your slope, but I needed you to do all of this algebraically. So we should have found our slope from these 2 points. So this was 3, 4. This was negative 2, 2. How you label that didn't matter. You should have still got the same answer at the end. So your slope should have been a positive 2/5. Then you should have chosen one of the 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to use 3, 4 just because then I wouldn't have to change anything, make it positive or anything like that. Using your point slope, so if you weren't using point slope, that method that Delta Math shows you, yes, that works, but I am testing you on point slope, so make sure you're doing that. So if I'm using 3, 4, that would be y minus 3 equals 2/5 times x minus 4. Sorry, I switched those numbers. That should be y minus 4 equals. There we go. And then distribute, you would have gotten a fraction at the end. And then added 4. So whether you did that in your head algebraically in a calculator did not matter, but you should have gotten y equals 2/5 x plus 14/5 as our final answer. So that was a point for finding your slope algebraically and then getting your slope correct, a point for the correct point slope format, your work, and then your final answer. Questions on that? Yes. Maddie, did you have a question? Okay. Right. Then in objective 2, most of us got this one right. You could have shown the work for all 4, or whichever one you got the work for, which happened to be A. So if we were solving this, we would subtract both sides by 3x. And divide everything by 5. So that equation becomes y equals negative 3/5 x plus 2. And I know these 2 lines are parallel because they have the same slope and different y-intercepts. So A was your answer there. And that was 1 point for the work, 1 point for the answer. Yes.
How do you change that to make it look like the answer? So that is different from the A.
This is a different format than A, but it's the same equation.
But how do you change it to look like that?
To look like this. Yeah. Subtract 3x and divide by 5. Other questions? Yeah.
But we didn't need to memorize the format for things.
Yes.
I was wondering, for number 2, why did you do 3 plus 2 instead of 3 minus 2? Because I thought the formula was
It's the same thing, but in the point slope, you would need to change it first. Change it to a plus first. Okay, so then on 4, some of us did this, some of us did not. The very first thing we should have done, hold that up. Okay. The first thing we should have done was change our slope because it's perpendicular, by flipping this and making it negative, then using that slope and our point slope and finding the rest of that. So that would have been y minus 3 equals negative 2 times x minus a negative 1, then change it to a plus, or put plus. And then distribute and solve. So that final answer was y equals negative 2x plus 1. This is perpendicular to the original because the slopes are negative reciprocals. So the points on that were, did you change the slope correctly, set up the format correctly, the work, and then the final answer? Questions on that? And then on to the back.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Instead of doing x plus 1, if we did x minus negative 1, would that still be right?
You would still have to change it to a plus.
But if you just wrote it like that and then solved it, would it still be right?
No, because you have to change it to a plus. Yes.
I put the plus one underneath the minus.
So rewrite it completely. For this one, most of the issue I saw is we weren't using parentheses. So if you were using parentheses, you got this right, unless there was some other error. But if you weren't, then I'll show you what typically happens. So this should have been a positive 1/4 minus 2 plus 2, so that f of negative 1/2 equals 1/4, because the 2's would have canceled. At the end, you can write f of negative 1/2 equals 1/4, or f of x equals 1/4. But we shouldn't just have nothing. We shouldn't have anything. We should not have anything over there. On the double negatives. So if you didn't use parentheses, you got negative 1/4 instead of positive 1/4, because this is saying negative 1 times 1/2 squared instead of negative 1/2 times itself. Negative times a negative is a positive, so it should have been a positive 1/4. Questions on that? And then points on that one were, did you set that up correctly? Tell me what each one was, and then the final answer. And then for the last one, there were different ways you could have done that. Most of you put these in for x and solve to see, did that give you 24, which was fine. You also could have taken 24, put it in place of f of x, and then solve for x. And at this step, multiply both sides by 2, get rid of the 1/2. So 32 equals x is the same thing as f of 32, so D. What we should not have done is put 24 in for x, because we were given a y value, not an x value. Questions on that one? Questions in general? Yes.
Where would we see like times the 2?
So instead of dividing by 1/2, do the reciprocal.
Oh, yeah.
Other questions or general questions? in a moment, you guys will take your tests. You can use your calculator. When you finish, you guys don't have missing tests. If you want to work on retake work, you can come see me to get that. So you can work on missing Delta Math. If you're done with all of that stuff, you can work on other classwork. I did want to remind you guys, next class is not a flex class. Your next flex isn't until after the quarter, just because the way things lined up. So if you don't finish this test in class today, you'll have to come see me before after school, or if we have time in our lessons. Keep that in mind. Go ahead and clear off your desk.